I'm excited to talk about my sponsors today. Gaye Lisbey's $1 Million Arbitrage group. Amazing, amazing group. This is a teacher. Gaye was a teacher. She is a teacher still. You need to learn. This is the type of environment you want to be in because she's going to help you understand why. And I think that's the hardest part of this business is understanding why. Why is the red one popular when the green one isn't? Well, there's usually a reason. And what Gaye does is probably parse that better than anybody, and she'll explain the reasons for those things. I think that's really powerful. Yes, she puts out a list. You're going to get use of that list if you get in the group. Now, here's the deal. The group isn't always open, right? So you get on the waiting list, and you can join the waiting list through my link. Doesn't cost you anything to get on a waiting list. And if you like her service, which I find that most people do, and that's why there's not so many openings, you'll be with her for a long time. And so it's amazingfreedom.com. She's part of Andy Slamon's group. Amazingfreedom.com/momentum, and you're going to get in the waiting list. That's all I can get you on right now. You can use my name and see if that gets you anywhere. But what I like about what they teach in that group are the things that are going on, the current things. I've seen a lot of stuff going on about stores going out of business. Well, here's where an opportunity is. Here's why you want to do this. Hey, be cautious about this. With Toys R Us coming out, you got to think about this. And that's the learning that you need to do. And Gaye is better than anybody else I've seen. So amazingfreedom.com/momentum will get you to the waiting list. Then hopefully it can get you in the group, and then you're going to see me in there, and we can chat anytime you're ready. Karen Locker's group, Solutions, 4 Ecommerce. Solutions4ecommerce.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50. Karen's our account manager. We recommend her to everyone because she's done so well for us. I mean, that's quite frankly the reason we've been paying her for the last few years, but she's become an important part of our team. Her and her team are so involved in our account. I just see the emails coming back and forth. Hey, we did this for you. I just saw 2 listings today, and I'm like, wait a second. Why did they show up? I didn't put any listings up. They got set off to the side by Amazon, and they reactivated them for me. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that just happens when you have a strong team, and I can't recommend Karen enough. If you use my code Momentum, Karen pays me. I don't want to hide that. Of course, we all know that. But you're going to save $50, and it's a great opportunity to really, really build out your team with somebody you can trust. That's why I recommend them. So Solutions for e-commerce, Solutions, 4 ecommerce.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50. Oh, and by the way, she's going to do an inventory health report. Why is that important? Well, guess what? Fees are going up. Is your inventory health number declining like ours is? Well, here's why, and here's what they can do. What I like is I get a spreadsheet from them, and it says, hey, here's a bunch of inventory. Here's what we recommend. And I'm like, yep. Delete, return to us, blah, 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 whatever it is, or destroy, and it just happens. That's what I like. The other thing that I have Karen help me with a lot is creating new listings. We do a lot of the research ourselves. We upload our images, and then boom, magically the listing goes live, and I don't have to worry about it. Those are the services that Karen offers. Can't recommend her enough. Solutions4ecommerce.com/momentum. Save $50. Use my code. You save $50 a month every single month, and it's a great service. Plus, you get that free inventory health report. I think it's a really powerful way. So I'm so excited how many people have been joining her because I see it, and I'm excited because the messages I get from people are saying, hey, this is great. I finally feel like I can focus on something else because Karen and her team are watching this for me, and I highly recommend her. Next up is Sellerlabs and Scope. I almost said it wrong. It's amazing. I mean, it really is amazing when you sit back and think about, hey, I want to get this product up, and it's similar to this product, and that product does well. Well, therefore, if that product does well, they have the right keywords. They have chosen things correctly. So guess what? Use Scope, and you can see all that stuff, and that's what the most powerful thing in the world is to copy somebody who's done it right. That's what you want to take advantage of that, right? I mean, it's fair to see, and so therefore you could take and apply it to your listing and immediately get that same benefit. That's what Scope does for me. Sellerlabs.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50 on the service. Oh, by the way, it's free to try. So sign up, try it, and say, oh, this is how it's done. Boom. And then the light's going to go on, and you're going to be like, man, I can get my products out there. I just can't wait. Can't wait. Sellerlabs.com/momentum. The other day, I bought another domain. Yes, I bought another domain. It's almost like I'm admitting guilt. But it's because I had an idea, and it was something that was a pretty good idea. I think it's going to go pretty far. And so what do? I go to trygodaddy.com/momentum and save 30%. So domains aren't very expensive. You get a few services. It adds up a little bit. And I usually buy 3 years. I usually buy privacy. By the way, I recommend that too. Buy that. It's not that much money, but when you can save 30%, it makes it that much sweeter. And it makes it easier when you're buying domains, and especially if you buy a bunch of domains. I am a domain collector, and so I do tend to do that. But that 30% makes it a lot easier. And I use GoDaddy because what I like is I can pop in an address I'm thinking, and it'll say, nope. Try this version or try this extension, and then boom, there it is. Hey, you better hurry before it goes away. And they're right, and so try godaddy.com/momentum, save 30%. Also, I want to mention about Grasshopper. Who was I just talking to? Somebody the other day, and they were like, oh yeah, I use this company called Grasshopper. I'm like, dude, did you buy it through my link and save 30%? Hello? No, they missed that. So save 30%. It's trygrasshopper.com/momentum. No surprise there, but you're going to save 30%. And what the real cool part about that is they're using it for their private label business, and it gives them virtually a second phone on their current phone without having to get another number. They can make up a vanity number. They don't have to go and do all the grief and sign long contracts. Pretty easy stuff. And so if you're creating a brand that you want to identify, you want to look professional, you want to look like a real company, Grasshopper is a great tool. It's an app you put on your existing phone, and boom, you now have a customer service department. You now have a sales department. You now have a manufacturing division. You could forward it to somebody else. You can have it go to different voicemails, different departments, and it's all included. So try grasshopper.com/momentum, save 30%.
Welcome to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast, where we focus on the people, the products, and the process of e-commerce selling today. Here's your host, Stephen Peterson.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. This is episode 321, Josh Newell. Very, very interesting discussion with a very, very smart guy. Very cool. I love the story of how people get to where they are, and his story is very, very cool. It's about overcoming challenges, figuring things out, but realizing, you're pretty smart. When you hear a story, you're going to be like, oh my God, this guy's one of those smart guys. And yet he stumbled. Okay. People stumble. Now, he had a reason, and figuring that out is really a big deal. But everybody stumbles. I think that's the lesson, right? Everybody stumbles. It's what you do when you get up and pick yourself up and you get going again. Well, Josh is a great example of what somebody with potential who stumbles but realizes that, and I'm sure it's family and having a good family around him and those who love him help, but still getting up and going forward, and he just did such a great job. So there's no doubt in my mind why he's having so much success. When you hear his story and you start making the connections, you can just see it, and it's just so cool. Again, another reason that successful people, when you look at these success stories, you always figure out that they solved their problem. Well, he's a good example of somebody who figured that out, somebody who saw something and said, I have this skill set. I can bring this to market. And so he's got a service. It's called fitshipper.com. And I have the link on the website if it's something you're interested in. Again, I don't benefit other than you saving money, but I'm here to tell you is that I use services like his because I save money. It takes away, and I'm not complaining about eBay in any way other than they're changing their business to suit them. Well, I don't want to change certain things because it affects us in a negative way personally, so we don't want to change some things. So you lose some of your discounts and stuff. Well, guess what? That was always something that held over my head. Well, now that option's gone because there are other smart guys like Josh who have figured out ways to offer other options. And guess what? Now that I have other options, we can go back to designing our life. And that's what you do when you're a small business person. You got to keep your costs down. You want to do everything you can. And Josh has a service that offers those types of things. And I just hope that you figure this out. Q4 is coming. You need to start working on your business. This is a chance to work on your business. Let's get into this great story with Josh. Really cool. All right, welcome back to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. Very excited about today's guest because he is going to help us understand shipping. And It's a complicated subject. It's not easy. And in this day and age, in our pre-call, we've been talking about this. In this day and age, you have to have skills in all these services, because there's a time you're going to need it. You're saying, well, no, wait, I'm FBA only. I don't want to ship. Well, guess what? That's a perfect world. The world's not perfect. It's going to happen. And the world's going to change, and it might make sense for you. Or Q4 is coming, and you might have a product and you can't get it in time, and yet you still want to sell it and you don't want to run out of stock. Well, then you're going to have to figure this out. And Joshua's an expert at that. However, he's also a computer nerd. He's also an eBay and Amazon seller. He's also just a hobbyist for creating tech solutions to problems he's had, which I think the most successful people have done. And that's why he's so successful at it. Welcome, Joshua Newell. Welcome, Joshua.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Was that a fair introduction?
Yeah, I think so.
I think the most successful people, and you're very humble about this, and so, it's very cool that you're very humble about this, but it's true. The most successful people fix problems that they have, right? That you created these tools, and we'll get into those, to fix your problems, right? It's just hassles, and you're saying, no, I don't need these hassles because I'm smart enough, and I have these skill sets, and I can fix these things. Correct?
Yeah, being a programmer, you get to solve a lot of irritating problems, since I can write some software, and that's kind of how I've gotten where I'm at now.
As a side note, because you are a programmer, because this question came up to me recently, I guess in the last week, is about eBay specific. And somebody said that eBay Motors, eBay, and their app, and whatever other platforms that they have, I guess they have a whole bunch of different pieces, they're all kind of run independently. And it's one of the reasons that you don't see that seamless technology shift like you do on Amazon. Is that correct? Am I just naive in understanding it?
Personally, I don't know exactly how their structure is set up. I do know that they're an older .com, back from the 90s, and I just think that they've since they started so early, they just have a lot of technical debt that they're still trying to manage.
Ooh, that's a cool term, technical debt. Tell me what that means.
Technical debt means you did something not the best way at one point in time, but now you're stuck with it. So, they've got to keep all these backwards compatibilities, and they have all this old infrastructure that was designed, 20, 30 years ago before, maybe it wasn't what we consider the best today, the best practices we'd use today. But since they have so much of it, since they're such a large company, some of that stuff just sticks around. And so they're kind of building on top of a shaky foundation, whereas Amazon, a little bit newer, and also Amazon had a very specific focus. They had a good CTO, I think, that made everything an interface, an API, internally and externally. So they kind of had a really good foundation. And of course, they're not without Amazon has their own technical debt and their own problems, but. Then I'm not really sure. I think some of eBay's IT stuff is outsourced, and that's not without problems. So I think it's just a combination of all those things.
Is it it's really hard to unring that bell too, right? Because anything they do affects somebody, and so to change midstream, you're talking. Correct me if I'm wrong. Amazon and eBay, technology-wise, are night and day. Because of that technical debt is the term you use. I love that they're just night and day. And for eBay to catch up to Amazon, which by the time they would catch up, I'm sure that would be outdated already, would cost an enormous amount. So basically they just try to keep it running, and they're trying to put them together. But that's why we're seeing all these glitches. Is that fair?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm not asking you to diagnose him. I'm just trying to get somebody who understands to make me understand a little better, because so much of it doesn't make sense to me. Why doesn't one talk to the other? Well, I can't imagine it's easy. I'm sure it's unbelievably complicated. But at some point, do you bite the bullet and get it done? And I don't know if it's possible. Okay. All right. So you are in the computer world. Why computers? Was that something that you were into since you were young? Was this the thing that you were going to be, or were you going to be a lawyer or something like that?
Yeah. So I actually I taught myself how to program when I was, like 7 years old.
Oh, come on.
My dad was taking
Now I feel dumb. All right, this conversation went bad right here. This is where the conversation went down.
Yeah, my dad was taking a programming class at community college, and he was trying to get some sort of management degree. And I found his book, and we had an old computer, and I kind of just started doing his homework for him.
Oh, man.
But I did not plan on being a programmer as a profession. I started my own little business. I had like a lawn care business when I was 16. I had a truck and a trailer and a big
Wow.
lawnmower, like a big commercial lawnmower. And I really liked business. I really wanted to be a business person.
What was it that was attractive to you about that? Because that's interesting. Why did you want at 16 to be a business person? Because that's not normal.
I don't know.
Did your dad, it sounds like he had a management job. Did you see your dad and you say to yourself, "Ooh, geez, I don't want to make that grind," or
Actually, my dad was a fast food restaurant manager.
Wow.
And I wanted to get a job at the local amusement park, Busch Gardens, that's near here. And I said, I think I was 15, and so you have to have a parent's permission and all that sort of thing. And he was like, no, like you can't work there because these kind of jobs aren't very good, and you don't want to get stuck in it like he was at that point. He's since started his own business and has been running that for a long time now. But anyway. He wouldn't let me get a, minimum wage job. And he's like, listen, you've been cutting grass around the neighborhood. How much do you make to cut a yard? It was like $20 back then. How long does that take? 30 minutes to an hour. What's that, an hour? He's like, do you really want to make, $7 an hour working at Busch Gardens? And so that's kind of what got me going in business.
That's what a great lesson though. What a valuable lesson he taught you, because I agree with you. Most people would have been like, oh yeah, you got to go work, got to go pay your dues flipping burgers, right? And he taught you, just the fact that he said to you, okay, let's figure out your hourly rate at 16 to understand what you can make. In your case, it was what, $40 an hour or $35, $30 an hour. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was really, and then later on, several years later, he had changed careers, but he wasn't happy where he was. And he was like, well, if Josh can have his own business, why don't I have? And so my parents started a business, and that's what they do even now today. So you taught him. He saw his advice come to fruition. He realizes, hey, this is pretty good advice. Maybe I should take, one of the father's roles, and you're a father now, so you got to say this, do as I say, not as I do, right? That's one of the rules you get to say. And in his case, he had to take and flip it on himself. And I think that's very cool, though. You got to admit, that's pretty cool. Is he a different person being a business owner as opposed to working nights and weekends and grinding away at, whatever fast food joint he was at? Well, yeah, definitely. So
very cool. All right. So you were going to be in the lawn business. This was going to be your future. Were you going to be one of those big mega landscapers? Is that what you envisioned?
No. That's what I was doing when I was 16, because that's what I had the ability to do as a 16-year-old. But I went to college, and my plan was I was going to be a business major.
And what does a business major look like to you? Because that's a very broad degree.
I don't think I even knew at the time. I just knew I wanted to go to go to business school. I was going to William and Mary in Virginia, and I thought I can learn about business and whatever. I don't think I was only 17 years old. So what did I know about what I was going to learn? But I didn't end up going to business school.
Ooh, why not?
Because I got expelled.
Oh. Okay.
I got expelled from William and Mary because I failed most of my classes my freshman year.
Now, hold on a second. So here's a 7-year-old who's self-taught computer science. That usually, just so you know, this is Steve talking, so don't take it with a grain of salt. That usually means you're pretty smart. A 16-year-old who can run a business and successfully charge customers, get paid from customers, drive a truck, drive equipment, maintain equipment, usually has some brains and pretty smart. What was it that you didn't do well in school, in that regimented school? What was it?
Well, it turns out that I start having what they call seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression people get when it's winter, when there's not a lot of light. And it kind of hit me. Maybe I'd had it my whole life. Who knows? A lot of people have seasonal ups and downs. But that particular year, it really just made me very unmotivated, and I'd never felt like I was depressed before, so I didn't recognize what was happening. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just knew that I wasn't going to class, and I didn't feel like doing much of anything. So I got expelled from William and Mary because I failed most of my classes, and I ended up getting back into William and Mary. I had to do a year out and to go to some community college classes. I got let back in, and but then my GPA was so low that I would never have been able to meet the minimum GPA for business school. And so I had to have a plan B. Business school was out for me. It wasn't going to be able to happen. So my plan B was I need to do something that I know I can achieve, because I was in a rock and a hard place. It's kind of, once you're on that academic probation thing, it's easy to get kicked back out again for, permanently. So I picked the thing I was naturally good at, which was computer science.
No kidding. And so, when you were off for that year doing community college and that, what was the wake up for you? I mean, how did you get this? I mean, did you seek help? Did you get, we don't get too personal there, but I mean, what was it that got you to turn to get enough? Was it a kick in the ass from your dad? I mean, what was it that got you to turn?
That's funny. I had forgotten all about this. Bring it all back around. Oh. So my dad had just started his new business about the time I had gotten kicked out, and he's in the exterminating business.
Oh no.
And one of the things exterminators do is they crawl under your house and they drill holes in the concrete blocks under your house so that they can spray chemicals that'll keep termites from eating your house, 20 years in the future. And so I helped my dad one day crawl under a house and use a 10-pound hammer drill, laying on my back in this crawl space, drilling holes in concrete blocks. And that was all it took.
That was it. That was the motivation saying, wait a second, I think I do need to get a little motivated here. So that's the motivation. Hey, you know what? Different things motivate different people. There are some people who probably love that life who would say, man, I would love to be under the house right now. This is so stressful. But that's not you, and it's not Steve. So I'm with you. So that's the motivation. That got you going, and it turned you. And what's so cool to me is that most people would have given up, Josh. Most people would have said, you know what, I'm going to go flip burgers, right? That's what they would have done.
Yeah. So William and Mary is something like 400 years old. 300 or 400 years old. And I think that I'm the only student in the history of William and Mary that was expelled for academic reasons who also got later on the dean's list.
Whoa, that's a pretty good legacy. I mean, you're on a wall, you're on a chart somewhere. Most people don't make it to any chart. So even though that might have not been the best one, the second one, that's pretty good. Okay, so you decide computer science. Did you notice it flow when you got back in? I mean, did you have obviously the extermination motivation is definitely there, but did things click for you? Because let's face it, you're a year or almost 2 years older at that point too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I knew what to watch out for if I started getting, depressed in the winter, and I got some, medication to help with that. And then it was really a struggle for survival because I had some very tough bars to hit to keep in. Oh, yeah.
You had a target on your back. Yeah, you everybody else can kind of coast now. If you coasted, you're out, right?
If I had like a D+ GPA when I had to leave, getting that up to whatever they make you get it to, a C+ or something like that. But mine was more like an F-. So so it was really tied the number of classes I had to take and the grades I had to get. But I ended up getting straight A's one semester. Whoa. Made the dean's list. I don't have my GPA mathematically never got very high, but I got A's and B's for the rest of my college, and at some point it started clicking, and by the end of college or senior year, you feel like you've really got it figured out. It's easy street at that point, but took a little of adjustment and took a little bit of grit to get through the first few semesters back. But yeah. But
how about work ethic? I mean, to as you said, you were an F-, to pull it up to even a C would have been an enormous task, right? Or even to bring it to a D, to bring it to a C is an enormous task, and then to get it to A's and B's. So that's a work ethic issue, right? Because it's not. We already decided you weren't dumb. So it had to be just effort, right? Work ethic, consistency, process, and all that kind of jazz. Is that where you got to that place where boom, and quite frankly, I guess I can say yes, because then I can see you going forward and doing all these other things. I'm thinking to myself, how does he do all this stuff? Well, this obviously had to be a big piece of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is what I'm interested in. I have a really hard time working on stuff that I'm not interested in. And but when it's something I'm interested in, I can almost get to like a workaholic, level. I like to get certain kinds of things done, and doing lawn care in Virginia in the summer, you learn how to work. It's hot, it's hot and all day long. So yeah, I between doing the lawn care every summer for several years, and then being in a rock and a hard place where I had to dig myself out of a big hole, really have to. I really had to work hard to make it back through and graduate. So.
But there's a lesson, right, that it can be done. And so I just think that that's something that everybody should hear, is that no, I mean, let's face it, Josh was in a really bad place. I mean, it was over, and yet you were able to pull it around. You were like, okay, let's get motivated. And maybe everybody who's in that position needs to go under a house and drill a hole and realize that there's more to life. So, okay. All right. So you decide some point, you get into the workforce. At what point do you decide to create a side hustle? You're saying you're not busy enough. You want to do a little side hustle and sell some stuff.
Yeah, so that was several years later. After my first job was in DC as they call it a business systems analyst. It's kind of the person that goes to the sales meetings, and then maybe it does the technical the tech demo and stuff like that, and then the person that deals with the client, trying to figure out what they actually want to happen, and then I would know enough about technology to bring that back to the software development team and explain. So I had my feet. Interesting, right? I hadn't really thought about that, but I was a computer person that was in business. I was the business systems analyst. So
Ooh,
I straddled that line. That's they call the nerd interpreter, basically.
Yeah, because you could speak the language of the nerds, and yet you can charm the business people and speak enough to make them feel comfortable. But here's the little laugh you get, is now that you're in the business world, you can laugh back at that business school degree and like, I didn't need it because I had that skill set. Because quite honestly, most of those guys are very good salespeople, right? Because you have to exude a confidence to be able to let those people know, yeah, we could do this, and then you got to go back and beg these guys, we got to do this, we got to figure this out, right? And so that's a sales thing. So that's a pretty cool thing. Okay, so you were doing that, and in DC, that's not too far from where you're at. And what were you thinking?
Oh, up there? I like that job a lot. I got put in a situation where I got stuck in a government office that was really, really dreary. It was the worst, and I decided that if I did a really good job, my reward would be I get to stay in that dreary government office longer. And so I ended up leaving.
Well, those people, just so you know, that you worked with, they're still there. The same people are still there in the same desks. They haven't upgraded. They might have got them new chairs. That's probably true. Yeah,
so it is just at first it was great because where I was working in the main office and the software team was there, and I liked hanging out with them and stuff. But then they wanted me on site at this particular agency, and it just wasn't is not where I wanted to be at all. And at the time I was unencumbered, so I didn't have to stay. Ended up coming back to the Hampton Roads, Norfolk, Virginia area, which is my home. And we'll say, long story short, getting into eBay, I have an aunt and uncle. They, my uncle had gotten laid off. They had been doing eBay part-time, just to make extra money. And when he got laid off, they decided to try eBay full-time. And they're still doing eBay full time today. But he really got me into it. My uncle really got me into it. He's like, hey, you gotta check out all this stuff. We're buying this in the thrift store, and we're buying it for a nickel and selling it for $30. And there was some stuff I do with vintage video games, electronics that we figured out there was a market for this particular thing. And so I really started doing that, and then I started doing thrift stores, and I found a couple of those like holy grail things where you buy it for $20 and sell it for $1,000, and that's really addictive. that's a super that's amazing.
It's a high. I mean, it's the thrill of the hunt, right? As they say, right? The thrill, and it is exciting. Especially when you're good at it, especially when you have that technical skill, and then you realize that there's a market, and then you almost, you're almost an artist when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I know that sounds so weird, and I don't mean to downplay somebody who's got, who can paint, but there is an art to that stuff. You can be as technical with the data as you want, but there's still an art, right? There's still an eye that not everybody has. And so if you have that, that's a skill, and that's a very rewarding thing when it goes right. Doesn't always go right, does it?
Not always, no. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're selling, and you're working locally back in your area now?
Yeah, so I've kept my day job. I've got a wife and kids, and need health insurance, and at one time I really was thinking about like how could I make this full time, and so we really tried at it, and did really well actually. My first year we were hustling. My wife got into it with me. She was really into these Korean beauty products. There's kind of a fad going on with Korean face creams for women and things like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither, to be honest with you. But anyway, she was really into it, and I started looking into FBA and stuff like that. I had kind of experimented, played around with some retail arbitrage. I had the scanner app on my phone, and we were sending stuff into Amazon FBA, and then we started actually importing beauty products from Korea and selling those. And I was still doing the thrifting, still doing the video game electronics types, custom stuff, and experiment a little bit with like a private label in an electronics niche that I'm familiar with. So we were doing the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, you really went knee deep, and you got little kids.
Yeah, we had little kids.
That's not easy.
But I always thought it was interesting, because not everybody can do eBay full time or Amazon full time for whatever various reasons. But the side income, the extra income that I was able to get, just working, a couple hours at night, shipping orders, things like that, and then on the weekends I'd go hit some thrift stores and stuff like that, and it was a significant amount of money in our budget, which is always helpful.
Yeah, it's always helpful. Thinking back to when you were the lawn business, right? You had to trade time for money, other than hiring other people. Period. That was it. You were trading time for money. The difference with eBay and Amazon is, it's not one for one, right? Neither one of them. I mean, because eBay, you can list a lot of items, and yes, you got to do the work, and then you got to ship them, right? However, there's a lot of times that it just sells on its own. Amazon FBA is even better, right? Because you just buy, send it in, and then set it and forget it, kind of. I mean, obviously it's not quite as simple as that, as opposed to that trading time for money. So there is something there. So why didn't you go full time? Because I think that's interesting. Why? I mean, is it the point, thinking back, or about this, let me ask it this way. Back when you weren't encumbered, I don't know if that was the word you used, but it's a fair word, where you didn't have the responsibilities of being a dad and being a husband and that kind of thing. If that was a different situation, do you think you would have pulled the trigger and went full time? Do you think about that?
Well, that's a hard one because it's a long
time. No, and it's not and I'm not saying that it's these kids cause me not to go. I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean
let's just say if I only needed to make half or something of what I'm able to make in my full-time job, then I think I would 100% do it if I could afford that kind of pay cut. Because making a living on eBay, I think is super doable, but I just for different reasons have really high kind of medical expenses and things like that. So for me, it's not doable right now. But if I was single and healthy, and I didn't need to make six figures or anything like that, I think easily. I think
cool.
Easily. Just it's fun and it's rewarding and it's free.
Yeah, it really is.
You're not stuck in an office all day. I don't really enjoy that.
Think back to that government office or think under that house. Those two things both would keep me motivated to stay focused. I agree with that. Okay, so
When did you decide to start creating products for yourself? Because, at this point, you're selling on eBay, you're selling on Amazon. How do you come up with something to fix a problem? What's the mindset for this kind of stuff?
Okay, so I think we're going to talk about Flipper Tools now.
Yeah, we could talk about Flipper Tools. It's flippertools.com, and this is Joshua's site, and he does things, a whole bunch of eBay stuff and Etsy stuff, and just different things that it seems to me that you must have had a problem, and you're like, I can fix that or figure it out because I'm not getting the answer from somewhere else. Is that kind of where the mindset goes?
Yeah, definitely. So the problem that I was having when I first started selling on eBay was with shipping. And what would happen is I'd sell something and then I'd pack it up and I'd get ready to ship it. And then after the fact, I'd realize like, hey, if I had used this other box, maybe a regional rate box or a flat rate box or whatever, if I had used that, I would have saved $5. And then I've got this conundrum. Do I spend the time and effort to cut this package? I just spent a lot of time, taping it up. Do I cut this all apart and go get another box and redo it? Is $5 worth the amount of time and effort? And then it's sort of painful. It's kind of a painful experience going, I don't know. And so being a software developer, I thought maybe I can make like a calculator that I could put in the dimensions of the item and the weight and the zip codes, and it would tell me which of these 20 different boxes that I have as options that I should use. And that's what I did. I made a little program, actually used Microsoft Excel to make it, and that's what I used. So every time I went to ship a package, I'd get my tape measure out and I'd measure it and punch in the numbers, and then it would tell me. And then that saved me so much time because then I wasn't hunting around for a box that, does this box fit? And you got to put it together and stick it in. Oh, no, it's a little tight. How about this one? And then trying to figure out which of those is going to be the cheapest option. So my little Excel tool was what I was using. And then I thought, well, I think other people might find this useful, and I wanted a little project building some web apps, and I thought this would be a great little web app that I could make and other people could use it. And so that's when I started the website Flipper Tools. That's just the domain name that I thought would be relevant, and I thought maybe I'll add some more than just this one shipping calculator later. And I put flippertools.com online, and I put the FitShipper shipping calculator on there, and then I started going from there.
You're back to being a 7-year-old there. That's what it sounded like to me. Somebody who's like, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. That's what it sounded like to me. It's somebody who clearly enjoys what he's doing, who loves the tinkering. To me, it's very cool. You got the skill set to do that, but it's the tinkering, right? When you think about that, and most people are like, you save a little bit of money. Because this conundrum still exists for most sellers. Anybody who does their own shipping, this conundrum exists. Here's a relevant conversation. We just met with our UPS rep this past week, and because we're going to do some seller fulfilled prime out of our place. And the contract rate is unbelievably different than regular UPS ground rates, right? We're talking material differences. Mm-hmm. But it depends on the size of the item. It's like you're expecting, this rate's going to be good for everything. Well, no, once it hits this oversize, what's that oversize? Nobody makes it easy for you to understand that. So it's like you get all excited and then it's like, oh no, that's not going to work. And so it's so frustrating, this stuff. But that $5, that's material. Especially we shipped a couple thousand items out of our warehouse last year. So $5 scaled, even $1 savings, at a couple thousand items, that's material, that's profit. Because it's not like it goes anywhere, right? You're paying a third party. So if that went to your bottom line, that's an enormous opportunity. And then, like you said, the duplicate labor when you realize it. Because I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me where I realize, wait a second, that box is, now I got to change it. And then it's open up. And for me, I will open it. I will take that because it makes me mentally crazy. But then that's terribly inefficient. It's stupid, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard on your psyche to go, all I have to do is cut this apart and redo it, and there's money back in my pocket. But then it hurts you too, because you realize you're wasting time. So it's not a pleasant feeling psychologically to have to make decisions that, if you had had a tool like the one I made, you wouldn't even have gotten there. So.
And so on Flipper Tools, down you go into the shipping section down below. And FitShipper, is that a service that you sell? Is the app, how much do I have to pay for it? How much do I pay you? How does that work?
Okay, so this used to be simpler, now it's slightly more complicated. Flipper Tools is a free website. I just do it as a fun hobby. All of the tools on flippertools.com are just free.
Okay, and let's just go through them real quick. I just want to make sure people. I didn't even know Ruby Lane still existed. That's crazy to me. I haven't seen that name in a long, long time. So Ruby Lane, price. You can do price research. Etsy is on here too, and because it's hard to find sold prices on Etsy, and so you have those opportunities. eBay best offer selling price, which now they hide. This allows you to figure out what it actually sold for and see the bids, which I think is a big deal. Never heard of First Dibs. Never once in my life have I ever heard of First Dibs.
They're like a real high-end stuff for collectors and designers. Kind of interior decorators might use it to shop.
Yeah, hence the reason Steve's never heard of it. The eBay, I do use your YouTube eBay listing HTML creator. So you basically go out to, and I got this from... who did I get it from? Garage Flips, Lonnie Honeycutt. And Lonnie mentioned it. This was a while back, and it was basically you go out when you create a YouTube video. So you create a second YouTube channel, and you just don't publish these photos or these videos. And you do a video of, so if you're selling a VCR, for example, you show it working, or a video game. That's even a good one. And then you just go take that HTML or take the URL, pop it in here. You pop out some code. It takes about 6 seconds. You copy it with this little copy button. Go in and post it right in the ad. So the ad stays, because eBay doesn't want you going off their site, correct? That's hence the reason they did away with the ability to put in a YouTube video.
In that case, they don't want any active code running inside of the listings because it's a security problem.
Okay.
There's different security issues with it. So unfortunately, that also broke the YouTube player, the embedded player, because it's actually got active, JavaScript content built into it. So not that they don't want you to go to YouTube. That's actually allowed. You're allowed to link to certain. You can't link back to your own website where they think you'll try to steal the sale from them. They won't get the commission. But there's a list of approved things you're allowed to do, and one of them is to link to a video that demonstrates your product, as long as there's no contact info. Like you can't put your phone number at the bottom of that video, so people buy off-site. So previously, that tool would give you the embedded code. Then when the change was made in, I think, 2017 for active content, I had to modify it. So basically what it does now is it looks like an embedded YouTube player, but it's actually just a link. And if the potential buyer clicks on the link, YouTube will open up in another tab, and they'll be able to watch that video. So it's just kind of, thing so people know that it's a video, and they know what's going to happen when they click on it.
Could you use that content? Could you use that same tool to put videos into other websites and things like that?
Yeah, I think theoretically it should work. It should work.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool, very cool. So if somebody's looking for that resource, again, it's free, and it's very cool. And there's a couple other things on there. Okay, so all that other stuff is out there, and there's a lot of value, and more coming soon, it says. But this whole section on shipping, I mean, I think it's very interesting that there's a smart shipping calculator. There's FitShipper for listing. Don't know where your item's going. You want to know what to charge to build in. And I think that's a powerful one because, again, my UPS example, we price it for California, Chicago, and local. And night and day difference. I mean, if you don't know it. And so in the old days, when we did free shipping way back in the day, it wasn't a big deal because the post office, it was cheap. Sending something to California wasn't that different than sending it local. Now it's sometimes almost double. And if you don't have that figured out and you don't price that in, there's your margin, right? And so this gives you the ability to do that. And then you help with the zones and stuff like that. Okay, so walk me through. You said it's different now. So it used to be free, and now is there a charge? Tell me how that works.
No, it's always been free. It will always be free. Flipper Tools.
Okay. Fit Shipper, though.
Okay, so here's the confusing part. The first thing I ever made for the site was called Fit Shipper, and it's a shipping calculator that focuses on the size of the item and finding the box. And you need to know which zip codes, where you are and where it's going to go, and then it tells you the best price with the best box based on the size of the item. And it's kind of smart. It knows like this size thing won't fit in this box and it will fit in that. It can even tell you if it'll fit into a padded flat rate envelope. Then people said, well, that's great, but when I'm listing, I don't know where it's going to go, so this tool isn't very helpful. So I said, okay, that you're right. It isn't that helpful if you don't know where it's going to go. So I made another calculator called Fit Shipper for listing, and what it does is it figures out all of the prices that it could possibly be no matter where it's going to go. So it actually does about 30 different price lookups for UPS, FedEx, USPS to all 9 postal zones. And it does that all in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I just did one just for demonstration. So I used one. I put in to go from here to 90210 because that's the only California zip code I could ever possibly remember, right? And put in that. It automatically set it zone 8, which I wouldn't have known, but now I could go look at the zones and it would tell me. Put in my dimensions, blah blah blah, and it popped up. I clicked on it and hit it in a second. Boom, and it says immediately. USPS, parcel select ground, custom box, $10.79. You'll save $2.33 saving this with Fit Shipper labels. Okay, so that's where the place, I think this is how you make money, correct? So at that place, I don't know what eBay would give me a discount, but in the past, okay, I'm going to make a little commercial for you here. Mm-hmm. In the old days, I used to get unbelievable shipping rates because we had top rated seller and we had all these different things, right? Mm-hmm. However, because I have extended handling times because I refuse to put myself in a box to ship the same day. I ship 7 days a week, almost always the same day. However, I need flexibility for travel. So I put 5 days on it and they're always like, that's too long. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not changing it, right? For our world, that works for us. So I lost a lot of those discounts, and it's a challenge because now all of a sudden those discounts, which used to cover my eBay fees, gone away. Mm-hmm. And so this brings it back. Fair? Is that kind of the right way to say it?
Yeah. So when so Flipper Tools has those 2 free shipping calculators called Fit Shipper, and over the years of working on them, developing them, doing research, I've learned more about shipping than anybody really should know. And
you're a nerd. Well, you're a nerd. We've already decided that. 7 years old, you're destined to be a nerd.
Yeah. So in all of my different research, I found a way to get some rates on priority mail that aren't normally available, especially at the time. It's a kind of rate called cubic priority rate, and I found a way to be able to offer that to regular mom and pop, everyday kinds of people versus only companies that were shipping like 50,000 packages a year were able to get those rates historically. And so I found that, and I was like, wow, I could really help out some people like my aunt and uncle to be able to offer these really, it's situational, but there's some really steep discounts available if you happen to ship in the right, parameters. We'll talk about that, I guess, what those are. But anyway, and so I had this idea that I could create a shipping label service that would give regular folks these really high discounts that are usually only for big businesses. And that's how I got the idea to start my business, which is Fit Shipper Labels.
And so
and
walk
Fit
me
Shipper
through.
Labels is
walk me through how that works, because it basically you said 50,000 items. So are you getting a volume discount, and therefore that's how you make your money? So you share that discount with me as long as I run my packages through you. Is that kind of how it works?
So how it works is there is a USPS vendor that has an arrangement with USPS.
Okay, I get it. Go ahead. Yep, I get it.
Yeah. So without having to have a giant a giant corporation and be able to negotiate with USPS and stuff like that, I found a company that I could partner with, and they're the ones providing the actual, when you buy the shipping labels, you're buying them from them or buying them through them, and they're the ones that are able to offer that discount. So what they don't have, though, is a way for regular people to print a shipping label. They don't have an interface. Their service is designed for companies that want to develop their own logistics system, and that you need a software developer to write you a custom interface. So what I've done is I've written a custom interface that is designed for eBay sellers, online sellers.
Ah, okay. So you can, that's really your secret sauce, is you're the one who has that interface for us and says, okay, hey, here's what you get. I can talk to this other. You're talking nerd talk again. You're back to, dude, have you thought about this for a second? This is like the clouds open up for me. You're back to being that business person talking that the nerd whisperer. That's what you are. You're back talking to the customer, right? And you figured out a way to talk to that shipping company. You really are. You're back to being a nerd whisperer. That's what you are. That's pretty cool. And that's how a lot of these, there's a lot of other shipping label services online. Unless they're Stamps.com, unless they're Indicia, most of those are actually using one of those other companies as the label provider. There's sort of like a historic, a panoply on shipping labels. It started with Stamps.com and Indicia. They've actually merged and bought up everybody else and stuff like that. So generally speaking, when you're buying shipping labels online, you're buying them through like one of three or four companies. And they're aggregators. Basically they're just aggregators, and they're taking that bulk, getting that discount, and doing it. And you found a way to find a third party without all the hassle. Because I used to have Indicia, and I called it Indicia. I don't know if that's right, but they used to be great, and then they merged with Stamps.com, and now they're the bureaucracy, and I dropped them because you go nowhere. No customer service, and you had to pay that monthly fee, and I paid it for 10 plus years. Right. Mm-hmm. And then when I needed help, they weren't there for me. So that was enough for me to say no. And so you've taken away the need to do that. And I think it's very, very cool. The other thing that's very cool is you don't just offer one option that says the best price. You can click on more and you can actually see the other opportunities, because sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes it doesn't work. But in this scenario, you give, my God, I'm looking at, I don't know how many, 30, I don't know, the list went way down to the bottom. So almost 30 options that you show, pretty much every possible way that you can ship this thing. So it's very cool. Again, you're the nerd whisperer. You took your skill set, converted what is technical for me to talk to that company, and you made it so I can understand it. And I think you're back to that business. Was it business systems analyst? Was that the term?
Yeah, business systems analyst.
So, there you go. That's a skill set that you brought forward.
So just to clarify everything, FitShipper Labels is a paid service. Mm-hmm. It's at fitshipper.com.
Okay, so let me go to fitshipper.com because I want to look at that. So it's a paid service. So in addition to buying my postage through there, I pay you a fee too. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a monthly fee. It starts at $5 a month.
Okay, that's not really a big fee. And
the
website,
I wanted to keep it affordable for, like I said, kind of folks like my aunt and uncle.
And that website again is what now?
www.fitshipper.com.
Okay. And so there, for a small fee, you join, and then you get the ability to access these prices, these better prices. And let me ask this question. And when I use your calculator and I have a FitShipper account, does it automatically link the two together and take me right through it?
Not right now. It doesn't.
Or do I just go to FitShipper and then that does the calculator there?
Yeah. Inside of the FitShipper service, there's a calculator.
Does it link up with any of the of the systems? Does it link up with eBay or Amazon or Etsy or any of the other systems?
Mm-hmm. Currently, it links with eBay.
Okay.
And in the future, I don't want to say the near future, but as soon as I possibly can, it'll start linking up with Etsy and Amazon and maybe a few others. Currently, it does eBay.
Okay. Any idea of what kind of savings people have seen? Have you have any anecdotal evidence of how much money people have seen savings?
Yeah. So if you are not a top-rated seller,
which 99% of people are not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. They used to be, but the rules keep changing, right? 30-day returns, it used to be 15-day, 30. Now I think it's going to 60. So I think this is really important for a lot of people right now.
If you are not a top-rated seller, then you get at least 3% discount on priority mail, except for regional rate. There's always an exception to some rule, right? With shipping, there's just too many possibilities. But with flat rate and regular rate priority, if you're not a top-rated seller, you'll instantly get 3% off those.
Okay. So if you're not a top-rated or eBay, it's just the same cost, right? It's the post office cost, correct? If I bought shipping on eBay, it's basically the same cost, right? There's no discount.
There are 3 price tiers with USPS. The first one's retail, and that's what you would pay if you took it to the post office,
okay,
or you bought it on Click and Ship, USPS.com, Click and Ship. That's retail. Nobody should be paying retail. If you're selling online, I don't care if you sell 5 things a month, you shouldn't be paying retail. The next level of discount is called commercial base rate, and that's the rate you get from anybody online. So if you ship through stamps.com, if you ship through eBay and you're not top-rated seller, if you ship through Etsy, if you ship through PayPal, you get commercial base rate.
So they're discounted versus retail, but not necessarily materially discounted.
Well, the discount between retail and commercial base rate is I would consider it material.
You would.
It's a significant discount. That's why no one should be paying retail. That's only for, grandma needs to ship her package once a year to the grandkids for Christmas. So
let's pause here for a second, because I think this is the AT&T phone that people leased for 50 years in their house, and they never realized they were paying for that phone every month for the 20 or 30 or 40 years. And no exaggeration, that really happened.
Yeah.
There are people that go and stand in line at the post office and buy their shipping there. So if they are doing that, they should buy it through eBay or, like you said, through PayPal, and without joining a service. They don't even have to pay you the $5,
right? And
immediately they're going to save money.
Immediately, period. Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody's doing that today, please stop. He's giving you a simple example, and it's more than your hourly rate, especially if you're shipping 5 packages. You could save several, as Josh just said, it's material. So investigate, go do it at the counter and then go do it on PayPal and see how much you save and then multiply it by your packages. Okay. All right. So I get that now. You got me caught up on that. So that's just standard commercial rate that everybody gets. There's no, like you said, without the bonus of top rated, everybody gets the same rate. Okay. Then there's a third level.
Yeah. The third level is called commercial plus rates. And commercial plus rates are what you would get if you were an eBay top-rated seller, or if you use one of the shipping label services that offer that discount without a minimum volume.
Okay, and so that's the one where you have to have a minimum volume, or you have to hit this minimum volume. However, there are aggregators. eBay is an aggregator; they get that benefit. Amazon gets it, doesn't give it to you, but they probably keep the difference, right? So there is a way to do that, right? So go ahead. You were going to say something?
There's just a little bit of noise online, but yeah. So there used to be a commercial plus discount on first class packages, and that wasn't very nice, but USPS eliminated that discount a few years ago. So now there is only really a commercial plus discount on priority mail. And the difference between commercial plus and base rates on across the board for priority mail is 3%.
Okay, so 3%. So if it's going to be $10, it's usually $10.65, whatever, it's going to be $9.70, right? So you're going to save that little bit, but it's going to save that times the volume of packages you have.
Yep. So if you are a top-rated seller, you get that through eBay, or if you use a service like FitShipper Labels, you also get that discount.
Well, one of the challenges, and this is what I call them negative incentives. We used to do to our sales reps. Hey, Josh, we're going to take back your commission if we don't get paid in 90 days. So we would pressure you, right? That was the negative incentive. You're going to lose your commission. And I used to go and say, look, Josh, I don't like to take this money back. You worked so hard on it. Go collect this money, right? And it was always this negative thing. Top-rated seller used to be that way. They'd be like, hey, if you do this, you can stay in. The goal was to keep people, the best of the best, rise to the top. They get a benefit for doing it, being, best of class. Now, what they've done is basically said everybody must meet this standard. I get where they're going, and I'm not putting them down for that. But, we've created these businesses and we've designed our lives around these businesses, and sometimes it just doesn't work. For those of us who are small single businesses who don't want employees, I don't want to close my store because when I do, it drastically affects my sales to get it back into their algorithm. So therefore, I put extended handling time so I can disappear for a weekend and not have to fit that, right? That works for me. That model was good enough for all those years. Now, I know I lose out on sales because of it, right? Because you're saying, hey, if I buy from Josh and I'm going to get it in 3 days, if I buy from Steve, it says I'm not going to get it for 8 days. Okay, so there's already the your best of class, so therefore you should get. Now they put these standards up there where everybody must meet these standards to get to that. And so some of us are just saying, sorry, I'm not going to do it, right? I just don't want to participate. And then I lose that benefit.
Yeah.
But I used to worry about losing that benefit. But now with these other options, I'm like, okay, sorry, I didn't get my top rated. I'm okay with that. And I'm probably losing sales because of it. But for my life right now, I can't afford to give up that time. So you're giving options to it. It's very cool. I mean, it's very, very cool.
So that's the minute you asked me what the savings would be like. So those are the minimum savings on priority. So there's no savings on first class package. Nobody can give you better rates on that than the standard base rates. And then you're going to get the plus rates, which are 3% off priority. There is, though, another discount. It's still considered commercial plus, but it's a special rate that most people until very recently had never heard of, because it wasn't something you could actually even get. You couldn't get it through eBay. You couldn't get it through anybody really without having that 50,000 packages per year volume. And that was what caught my eye when I was doing my research on this.
This is the secret.
This was the, oh, wow, people will really be able to use this. It's called cubic priority rate. So people know that there's a regular by weight, there's a flat rate, there's a regional rate that people are confused about usually. But those are the ones people know they've heard of. But there's this other one, this fourth option called cubic rate. And cubic rate is the price is based on how far it's going to go and the size of the package without regard to the weight of the package. So if you're selling something that's kind of dense, it's kind of small, kind of heavier, then the savings can be pretty extraordinary.
Give me an example. Extraordinary is a very broad term. It's all relative, I guess, for people. But what kind of discounts do you see?
If you calculate it out with the maximum, it's over 70% off of the regular priority rate. That's
without kind of shipping 50,000 items.
Without, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of an extreme example. That would be like if you were shipping bullion, or penny, if you're shipping pennies or quarters or something super heavy, super dense, and you were shipping it to like zone 9, like some island somewhere in the Pacific, you would see over like 70% discount.
No kidding.
But let's talk about some more realistic examples. Let's say, I don't know, you sell shoes.
I do.
You sell shoes without the original box.
Okay.
Do you?
No, I sometimes I don't. Generally, I keep them in the box, but just because I have wholesale. But I have sold shoes without the box.
Okay, so let's say you're a thrifter and you found some really nice men's dress shoes at the thrift store, and you sell them and you want to ship them. So men's dress shoes are going to weigh a little over 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so you can then ship those a couple different ways. You could probably can't fit them into a padded flat rate envelope, or if you could, you wouldn't want to because they're dress shoes and they would get crushed. So you've got a couple options. If they were smaller shoes, maybe you could fit them into a regional A box, but probably not with men's dress shoes. But so you're gonna end up shipping them by weight, most likely the 3-pound regular priority rate. But if you ship them in a box that is, if you use that priority shoe box, that free box you're allowed to use, it's not a flat rate, it's just a regular box. Mm-hmm. If you can fit your shoes in that and then cut about 1.5 inches off the length of it, that ships at something called cubic tier 0.3 or cubic tier 3. I just shorten it down to, and you at that rate you end up saving $1 or $2, depending on where it's going to go.
And so when you're doing that and you're shipping, 20 or 30 of those packages a week, you're starting to talk material amounts of money. Again, this is pure profit. You've worked so hard to buy that product at the right price. Mm-hmm. Now you've got to try to, I was thinking about this before our call, and I think I mentioned it in our pre-call. I think of the E-Myth. This is where, somebody who's got a little maturity in their business, somebody who's got the sourcing down right, somebody who's got the listing process down right, this is where E-Myth would tell you need to be working on your business, not in your business, because working on improving margins, right? If you could save a point, right? In that case, $1, if that represents 1%, because if you could find 10 ways to save that 1%, think that's 10%. I mean, it's a material. You don't have to go out and add a whole bunch more products, Josh, because of these things. This is working on your business, as that E-Myth would say. Love it.
Not only that, because not only are you saving on your expenses, but you also have the ability then to lower your prices. Compared to your competitor. So you might be able to offer it $1 cheaper if it's something you're competing on. If you're saving $2 on shipping, you could increase your profit by $1 and undercut the next guy by $1. So
it's very powerful. And does it work really well if you're going to combine items? Can you get that complicated where you can combine items and get it down in that math?
Yeah. So I mean, if you basically it's all by the volume. So if you can find a box that meets a certain size, the Fit Shipper calculator in the paid app and also the free one, it'll just tell you, like, okay, when you see that thing, it says if you ship this with Fit Shipper labels, you'd save this much. That's right. That's what it's doing. It's using the dimensions you put in and the weight and where it's going to go, and then if it's cheaper, it tells you.
And so, I'm sitting here thinking this could be a way of sourcing. When people are looking for that optimal, number, you could say, hey, will that fit in that thing? Because then, like you say, you could step up and pay a little bit more because it could be a fast turning on it because you're going to save money on the other end. It's a very cool, it's just it's a way of optimizing your business. And I think that's what a lot of people need to start doing. This is a big deal because here we are in July. Okay. Yeah. Q4 is coming. And so, you're starting to see it more. I've noticed over the last several years, all of a sudden people are like, man, I got to do some merchant fulfilling too because I can't get this into Amazon's warehouse. I can't get it in. I have to figure this out. They're all FBA. They're 100% FBA. But then they're like, wait a second. This is a hot toy. I've got to be first to market because otherwise. And so they have to start figuring this stuff out. And to me, this is the opportunity to figure this stuff out. And again, and Steve doesn't benefit other than you having success people. Josh doesn't pay me a dime. I just love when you figure this stuff out because if you can bring a partner on like a Fit Ship label or fitshipper.com, when you bring that partner on to help figure this stuff out for you so you don't have to become an expert, that's where you're buying time, as Mitchell Lipp always says. Buy time. There's the place to buy some time. And for $5, I'm buying time. I think this is a great service. It's a very cool thing. And again, did you ever think you'd have this much success with it? It's really taken off. Did you ever feel like it was going to be this thing in your mind?
I did. I took about a year of thinking. I had this. I had this knowledge that I could do this, and I sat on it for about a year because it was a daunting thing to start a company from scratch. That it's a very big technical project, and I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and so I didn't do it right away. But one day I had woken up and I was kind of getting going for the day, and I just like thought in my brain like, how many people would need to sign up for this at the lowest price I could come up with to make like a material change in my, maybe not replace my full-time living, but
to fill out that budget as you were talking about before, to help fill in that budget.
To make a real difference in my life. And it wasn't very many. It wouldn't take that many. And, the goal, and the other reason is because if I'm only charging $5 a month, I can give you this one example. It's on the FitShipper.com main site there. It's something, there's a picture there of a box, and it's something I shipped. I sold on eBay. It was a box of VHS tapes, a 12 pack of old VHS tapes. I didn't know if you knew that, but there's a market for those. They're hard to find. And it ended up weighing 7 pounds. 12 VHS tapes and a little brick is 7 pounds. To ship that to California in a regular box would cost $27, but with cubic rate, it's $10.76.
Oh my God!
So that's
so you wouldn't have bought that, right? You wouldn't have bought that if you didn't know that, right? Because you would have said, "Oh, I'm going to make," and then you realize how much, or people aren't going to buy it from you when they see it's $27 to ship.
I would have had to wait for someone from this state to buy it from me. I couldn't have sold it to someone in California. So
you excluded the number one buying state in the country. I've done this math.
Yeah.
California is the number one e-commerce buying state in the country.
Yes.
Period. California, Texas, New York, or something like that's the order they go in. And so you would have excluded the number one market. Love it.
So my point is, if I can save $17, or is it $17 on one shipping label, or you could, but I'm only going to charge you $5 for the service, I feel like that's going to be a success.
Right. That's a pretty fair business model. Yeah. People will see the savings right away. I think again, you solved a problem. You figured something out. You're the nerd whisperer. You're like, hey, I can talk to these guys. I can figure out the technical side of this and put it in language that people can understand and present it. And therefore, I want to get compensated a little bit for it. And I just think it's very fair. And it's not, again, you're giving a tool to a group of us who might be excluded from it now because we've lost that status. Or on Amazon, they don't even offer it. You don't even get good rates on Amazon. They keep those. I'm sure they get discounts. You just don't see it. They must keep them. I don't know what happens, but we don't get those. We don't get the benefit of those.
Yeah.
And so therefore, this opportunity, if you're going to merchant fulfill, which you absolutely should consider this Q4. I mean, I've had friends that were standing in line back when Toys R Us was open, buying the hot toy and listing it for sale literally as they were standing there. And 5 minutes later, they're still in line saying, "Oh, already sold."
That's great.
So, that's amazing when you have that hot toy because you have to get first to market. Or, is a good example with Toys R Us closing, all that stuff went out into market. The people who are going to make the money right now on those hot toys were the first people. And then there's a lull and there's a race to the bottom. And then if you hold on to it, it eventually will come back. So if you had an option, if you had the ability to do it, I just think it's powerful. And again, this is my advice, partner up with somebody you trust. And if this resonates with you, then you go to FitShipper.com. And again, I don't benefit other than you having success. And also, you've got to go to FlipperTools.com because I'm telling you, those tools are powerful. That YouTube video, if you're selling on eBay and you got a high-end stuff and you got expensive stuff, videos make the difference. Lonnie Honeycutt's got me convinced that videos make the difference because people get to see it work. Nerds like you, Josh, electronic nerds, like to know that something works. They want to see it because you could say, oh, yeah, that does what I want, or it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's such a powerful tool because it's so easy. I mean, it literally takes, I think it's 2 minutes, the whole process, all the way, including the video. I mean, the whole thing's all the way through. And so that's on flippertools.com. All right. So if somebody's interested, they can go to FitShipper.com. The information there to sign up. If they're interested in this service, they want to find out more. If they want free advice, go to FlipperTools.com and read all this stuff because there's tons of stuff in there. There's a lot of information, stuff that I didn't know that's available. What's next for Josh? I mean, what are you thinking? I see that you have other ideas. What else are you thinking? What other problems are you thinking about solving?
Well, I'm going to focus on FitShipper labels. mainly I feel like that's the most.
You want to build it out. You want to build it out.
Yeah, I want to get the Etsy and the Amazon integration. So if you are a merchant, fulfilled, or you want to do that for Q4, that it'll integrate directly and be able to download and upload the tracking like it does with eBay right now. So I'm working really hard to get those integrations working. And then I do have, I get bored sometimes, so I always try to keep a couple little things on the side. Right now, a lot of people are asking about being able to cross-list from eBay to, say, Poshmark and Mercari. And so that's an idea that it got rolling around in the back of my mind. Don't know if I'll end up doing that, the amount of effort, and then whether or not people would want to pay for it or not.
And whether those apps are going to last. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Everybody's new to market, so everything's hot. But whether they're going to be able to sustain those business model has yet to be seen, right? We'll see. They're still using VC money, so it'll be interesting to see when the VC money runs out, are they going to be sustainable? So for you to put a lot of energy and effort in, that'd be tough. I just saw one of the cross-listing platforms just closed. I forget who it was. Literally this week, I saw something that they are stopping their service, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Is it MCF? I think it's Auto MCF. I think that's the one that stopped. And I'm like, well, it's real. I mean, these things are real. They take a lot of energy and effort. And I'm assuming it takes a lot of energy and effort to keep it running, right? I'm sure that's not just, wave your wand in the unicorn dust and things work perfect, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely doesn't work like that. People have lots of questions, especially when they've just signed up. They don't know how cubic rate works. So I have to help people learn about that, and then day to day. Sometimes there's bugs, sometimes there's glitches, sometimes it's eBay's fault, sometimes it's mine, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of work.
Life happens. Life is going to happen to everybody. The world's not perfect, because if it was, I guess we wouldn't need to even have this conversation, because we'd all be sitting down by the equator somewhere sipping drinks right now. Mm-hmm. If somebody has follow-up questions, they want more information, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
They could email me at josh@fitshipper.com.
josh@fitshipper.com. Dude, I'm very, very impressed. I love the story. I mean, that's what I love, is a story. Again, to watch you weave your life to hit that wall, push through it, and come out on the other side with a skill set that clearly, I'm telling you, this nerd whisperer thing has served you well, because you're doing it again. And you might not see it. It's obvious to me, and it's probably obvious to others, that you've got a gift in this thing. And I just think it's very cool for you to be able to put it in layman's terms for people like me to be able to understand, man. I really appreciate you taking the time, especially explaining it, because it is complicated, and you did a great job. I understand it now. I feel that much smarter. So, man, I just want to thank you so much. I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Again, great guy. Can you imagine coding at 7? Jesus, when you're that smart. It's so, I tell this story all the time, that when you grow up around computers and that's all you know, when my old job, when we would hire somebody, they just knew what to do. We never had to train them, because they just knew a database. Oh, we just do it this. Yeah. Oh, what term do you use? Oh, okay, we use it this way. But yeah, that makes sense. And boom, they had such a big advantage. Us old dudes and dudettes, we don't have that advantage, but you can learn it. You're smart. You've got skills. You've got marketable skills that you can use to figure this stuff out. And Josh is a great example of somebody who put his head down, do the work, and look at what he's been able to do. So again, my advice to you is figure out shipping. Offer merchant fulfilled shipping. If you're an FBA only, that's awesome. Offer merchant fulfilled so you do not run out of stock. Do not let your, especially if you're private label, have a B plan, have a C plan, because guess what? Ask Paul Miller about his shipping company. No fault of his own, it changed. That person made a different decision about their life and their business. They changed. Well, guess what? That affected him. And so having a B plan and then a C plan is so smart. And so learn how to ship. It's not hard. Have a plan. Get this service or one of these services and get it in place, so when the opportunity arises and you need it, it's there. That's insurance. That $5 a month is insurance to know that you have a plan and you have somebody there who offers help with when you need it, because you heard him say he has to help sometimes train people. And so I think that's really important. So ecommercemomentum.com, man, I just love these stories. Keep them coming. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. All the links mentioned today can be found at ecommercemomentum.com under this episode number. Please remember to subscribe and like us on iTunes.